How are you? What's going on?
Coming up, we see the riveting conclusion to this body cam footage of Texas officers responding to a call where a grown-ass man and local politician was afraid of a 9-year-old black girl in his neighborhood.
Are you serious?
Also, is it child abuse to make your 8-year-old son walk half a mile home in a neighborhood that he's familiar with? Apparently in Texas, that's a felony. And I promise I'm not just picking on the Lone Star State. You know that Florida just couldn't help itself, so it gave us a courtroom bleach-drinking felon to bring the meme to life. But first, let's warm up our palates with this delicious taste to fuck around and find out. Just a normal day in NYC? Assaulting a clerk? Whoopsie-daisies. You know, she had excellent technique in assaulting the store clerk, but the dismount really was botched. Let's see how that affects her in the later rounds. I don't think the judges are going to like that so much. I'm not even kidding. I didn't notice this on the first pass, but I guess she got beamed. Boink. Someone in the replies added a sound effect. I mean, I'm just going to keep using this until it stops making me laugh.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
Every time. Well, now that our whistles have been wet, let's digest this sick-ass sponsor segment before jumping tits first back into more Brainworms. You guys may not know this yet, but I am now officially Lord Leon Lush. And henceforth and hereafter shall be referred to as such. I wanted you guys to know first, but I still need to break the news to my wife. Honey, as I am now Lord Leon Lush officially, I will be referred to henceforth, and I'm no longer doing chores around the house.
You don't do chores anyway, you idiot.
Hey, oh, that may be true, but that's Lord Idiot now. She'll get used to it.
Lord Idiot!
My prestigious new prefix is possible because of established titles, a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. By acquiring a title pack, you get at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number in Scotland, along with this crested certificate to prove as much. Established Titles also plants a tree with proceeds from every order, so you'd be directly helping conservation initiatives that support global reforestation efforts. Gentlemen, think of how many baddies will be sliding into your DMs when you put Lord in your dating profile and then have the hardware to back it up. You can officially put it on credit cards, plane tickets. It makes for a great last-minute gift for a friend or a loved one. The first 200 people that use my link to snag a title pack will effectively be next to my plot. So depending on how many of you upgrade to Lord or Lady, we can have our own lush kingdom over in my forefathers' country land. Right now, Established Titles is running a massive Black Friday sale, and if you use code LeonLush, you get an additional 10% off. So go to establishedtitles.com/LeonLush to get some holiday shopping done while helping support my channel at the same time. I appreciate you guys.
Hi.
So this is officers
How are
in
you?
Texas.
God damn it, Leon. It's f***ing New Jersey.
Responding to a call.
What's going on?
Because a man called the police and said this.
There's a little black woman walking and spraying stuff on the sidewalks and trees on Elizabeth and Florence. I don't know what the hell she's doing.
I don't think she's just walking and spraying stuff everywhere. Just a little black woman. It's, you know, it's, I don't know what the hell she's doing.
But it scares me, though.
Yeah,
Do you have any, like, clothing?
I can imagine. You must be fucking terrified. And mind you, he calls her a little black woman. Like, any description of the clothing, the officer says here?
Have any, like, clothing description or anything?
She's a real small woman, real tiny. She's got a hood on.
Do you mean to say a girl? Like, you don't mistake a 9-year-old girl for a woman. So right out of the gates, this guy's already sounding a little weird.
You can't miss her.
Hi. How are you? What's going
The officer
on?
shows up.
Is that your mom? What's that? Oh, what are you using to sponsor?
So she's talking about spotted lanternflies because the whole point of what she's doing is there's an initiative in her town to spray this stuff that kills spotted lanternflies because they're an invasive species. So she's out here, this 9-year-old girl, trying to help her community because there's a town initiative, and I guess in an article I read, it like went viral on TikTok locally, and she's out there trying to help subdue this invasive species. Sweet girl with the community's best interest in mind.
Trying to catch him? Is this your mom coming down the street? Okay. Someone just called in and said that she was alone spraying something on the grass.
She's catching the.
I see that.
The so coordinated. Thank you.
Oh, you know Gordon?
Just really well.
Yeah. Okay, can I just get your information?
Sure.
I'm
Monique
sorry.
Joseph. Are you serious?
Yeah,
Wait,
I
you
guess he saw it. I'm not sure.
So it sounds like she knew which neighbor called. So the even sadder part is that this is somebody that's like a neighbor that lives on the same street. And she goes, oh, you know Gordon? Yeah, I guess he could have just rang the bell. So not only does he probably know who it is already, if it's your fucking neighbor, he could have just walked out and asked what was going on, but instead he decided to call the police. You can't make this shit up.
I'm not sure.
Does he not live across the street from me?
I saw it too, and I thought, wow, she's doing a school project.
Yeah, somebody else helped her. She's
Right.
like, just get the legs on.
Okay.
Does he not live across the street from me? Is he a nut? Yeah, he's a fucking weirdo, loser, dude. What-
Oh, she's obviously fine.
We are. Across
You're
the
obviously
street.
next door neighbors.
Yeah. I yelled
Okay.
good morning to his wife.
Right.
No.
No,
my
you're
God.
not in trouble.
How many did you kill? How many trees did you save?
They're bad.
So after talking with the mother, he speaks to this guy named Gordon Lush, who's
It's
apparently...
water. She's catching lantern flies.
Is she really?
She said she lives right here. Yeah, she's catching lantern flies. All right, I'll see. I'll see.
What a weirdo, huh? I mean, what next? Am I right? First, it's lantern flies, but next thing she could be making rap music, or who knows what could happen. Fucking loser, dude. And this dude, Gordon Lush, is apparently like a local politician in the Texas area, like a state-level politician, and he is catching some well-deserved flack from the community, if you can imagine. Look at this clown right here, dude. I'm like, it's sad. I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because of how pathetic it is. The next morning, Gordon saw Monique Joseph, that's the girl's mother, outside of their homes, and he immediately apologized to Mrs. Joseph, according to information from Lush's lawyer. And Mr. Lush told Mrs. Joseph that he had known that it was her daughter that he had seen. He certainly would not have called the police. Mrs. Joseph did not accept Mr. Lush's apology. Well, Gordon, if you're thinking about running for re-election as chairman of whatever bullshit organization you're probably part of, maybe you can make the backbone of your campaign Brainworms, you dumbass. Lantern flies? What a weirdo, huh? What next? Riddle me this, my beautiful 200 IQ Brainworms viewers. Is it a felony to make your 8-year-old son walk home a half a mile in your own suburban neighborhood? Let me give you a little more context. This isn't a video. This one's a big old bastard news article, so let me summarize it for you. This is Heather Wallace and her 3 sons. She was driving her 3 sons home from karate practice one day. Karate practice, excuse me. And her oldest 8-year-old had a meltdown tantrum. When they were a little under half a mile away from home, she pulled over and she asked him if he could get out and walk home the rest of the way to cool down. She says, and I quote, "When he gets like that, we have a routine. We can't engage with him. He calms down just fine after that and we can kind of move on. I opened the door, he got out. There was no shouting. There was no argument." This is a suburban neighborhood in Waco, Texas, where this young boy apparently is very familiar with and rides his bike all around this neighborhood, normally unsupervised. As he got about a block away from home, one of the neighbors called the cops, and minutes after they responded, picking up this 8-year-old Aiden in the squad car and bringing him home. When they got to the house, they questioned his mother on the porch extensively while they kept Aiden in the back of the cruiser. She said that they asked her prying questions about why her house was so messy. She has 3 sons. Of course the house is gonna be messy, dude. So the officers go on to warn her about the fact that Waco apparently has a child sex trafficking problem, more so in the city, not so much in the neighborhood where they live. And when they asked her if she would make her son home walk again, I guess she didn't respond so kindly and they arrested her, cuffed her up. A caseworker from CPS shows up and starts grilling her in the back of the cruiser while she had cuffs on. Finally, 3 hours after the police had showed up at her doorstep, they finally took her down to the station and booked her and charged her with second-degree felony for child endangerment, which carries a mandatory prison sentence of 2 years. Let me just pause right there and give you my opinion, which is that this sounds fucking insane, right? I have no idea the actual exchange, like 3 hours getting CPS involved. I don't know if she was like combative or just maybe angry that the cops picked up her son and left him in the cruiser while they were questioning her. Seems like maybe there was a way, like she could have talked herself out of this. I don't know. The article doesn't give you that information. But to charge her with a second-degree felony for just what do you guys think? Like, it's insane to me, dude. When I was fucking 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, we used to run around like several block neighborhoods, play Relivio, play kick the can. We'd be running, jumping fences, running through our neighbors' yards at fucking like after sundown during the dark. I lived in a suburban neighborhood as well. Like that's some normal shit right there. You're talking this kid's a half a mile, 8 years old, in a neighborhood that he's biked around, he's familiar with, he's lived there his whole life. He's walking home and she gets charged with child endangerment? What are we talking about here? After she got bailed out of jail for $300 the next day, they had to agree to a parent safety plan, which essentially meant they were not allowed to be alone with the children. So for the next 2 weeks, her and her husband's parents had to be there on alternating nights every night just so they could be around the kids. So she ended up pleading out and doing this diversion program, which essentially means she had to accept responsibility, but it kept her out of jail and she had to do a bunch of community service. But she lost her job. I believe she was in education too, so she's unable to find more work because she's like not allowed to be around kids or something for a certain period of time. It says here the financial toll forced the family to sell their home and they are now living in a rented duplex. They hope to eventually build a 1-acre plot of land they have purchased where the 3 boys will be able to roam outside. We're all trying to do what's right for our kids. They have their own personalities and have different needs. The whole thing seems a little bit strange to me. Like there might have been a lot going on in between the lines if they were like in the questioning from the police, if they were really exhibiting some incredibly unorthodox parenting techniques. But if we're talking about just a little walk home in the neighborhood because there was a little fight between boys, like, I don't know, like I would need to understand, I would need to have been a fly on the wall to make a better judgment. Because from the way it sounds like, the surface level of the way I'm reading in this article, it's fucking insane that she was arrested and lost access to her kids. The contrast of how things were when I was a kid versus how things have kind of progressed today, the helicopter parenting, the parents being obsessed with every little thing. There's no perfect answer. Every parent is gonna do what they think is best for their kids, but your kids need to have some level of independence. You can't suffocate them. And that, I mean, some of the shit me and my friends' parents let us do when we were kids, if it was 2022, our parents would be going to jail for life, I think. What do you guys think? Was she endangering her child by doing that? Should she have gone to jail for letting her son walk home in their neighborhood a half a mile away from their house? Curious to hear your thoughts. On a more lighthearted note, let's run it back to a 2016 YouTube comment section meme.
Now to a story you'll only see on Local 10 News. Chaos in court when a man on trial suddenly drank a cup of bleach. But how did he get a hold of it? Local 10's Rosh Lowe is live in Miami with this exclusive. Rosh.
What a scoop! Local Miami man was in court, drank a cup of bleach, but how did he get a hold of it in the courtroom? Holy shit, you'll only find this on Local 10 News. I love news. Like local news stations are the best, dude. I could watch them all day. Like they drive me mad, but it's all the whole thing is just a meme.
So let's begin tonight with this question. How in the world can this happen?
Bleach in a courtroom? How the fuck is this possible?
Somebody who is in custody of Miami-Dade Corrections. You have them at their guilty verdict, and then somehow they are able to get some cup of a chemical, bleach most likely, and not only that, they begin to drink it.
Yeah. Why else would you have a cup full of bleach at your guilty verdict? Of course you're gonna drink it. By the way, bleach kind of looks a lot like water when it's in a Poland Spring bottle. So you do the math. My man brought a bottle of water. I don't know. They probably don't let you have anything, I guess, when you walk in the courtroom. You gotta go through like the scanners and shit. Maybe it's a viable question. How did you get bleach in the courtroom? But certainly crazier things have been done. How did Epstein manage to kill himself with no cameras on when the guards fell asleep? You know, it's crazy. Anything can happen. I'm sorry, kill himself.
That's what happened in a Miami-Dade County courtroom.
Oh, he's swishing it. It's like mouthwashing that shit.
Jermaine Bell, just found guilty of armed robbery, facing life behind bars, and he drinks something from this cup.
Side note, life in prison for armed robbery. I'm not like up to date on the typical sentence terms for different crimes, so that seems pretty aggressive. Maybe if there's like a lot of priors or something, I don't know. But I mean, I've seen things like second-degree murder, people doing 20, 25 years, and you talk about life for whew, I'll probably be drinking the bleach too.
Spit it up, man. He's been in custody for more than 3 years fighting the charges. And on verdict day, sips what his family says was a bleach-type chemical from the cup.
Hey, y'all call the rescue,
Immediately, he becomes sick.
I just told you he ate a nut. Y'all ain't gonna help him get it out.
Did you just say he ate a nut? I don't think that was a nut, my friend.
So sick, he's taken out of the courtroom on a stretcher.
You don't say.
Taken to the hospital.
I see him drinking something that's not right, and that his attorneys are letting him drink it, the corrections are letting him drink it, and all of a sudden, I see him collapse.
So, I mean, they're all just like, all the security guards are all just like standing around like, hey, buddy, here's a trash bucket. If you end up throwing up your guts when you're done drinking that whole cup of bleach there, just let us know when you've finished and you can just die right in here into this bucket. Like, what? I'm so confused. Everyone's just kind of like standing around watching him do it. Is that bleach right there? It smells like my wife's laundry room. Why is that? Wait a minute. Also, can we just talk about this man's fit? The Miami Heat flat brim with the violet shirt and the paisley. Money, dude. Love that.
And I'm like, what just happened?
Reverend Jerome Starling is a distant relative of Bell and says there needs to be accountability.
This should not be happening to people that's in custody at all.
Jerome's cousin took the video.
Who are we holding accountable here? Like, I imagine there are practices in place when you are at a trial and you're facing an incredible amount of time in prison and you're at the verdict. I'm sure there's things in place to try to make it so the defendant does not have access to anything that could potentially harm themselves. In this case, they clearly failed, so I guess that's what he means by accountability.
He couldn't believe what was happening. How does an inmate get a chemical into a courtroom like this and then sit there and drink it?
I was the only one like jumped up and tried to get him help.
His family wants answers.
Very emotional for the whole family. We thought we was gonna lose Jermaine that day.
There are so many questions about how a chemical got into a courtroom without anyone noticing. I mean, someone must be held accountable.
There are so many questions about this case. At this point, they are unanswered, but it's important to stress this is not only about this one particular inmate, it's about all the other inmates and security protocols. I can tell you this evening that this entire matter is under investigation both by Miami-Dade Corrections and Miami-Dade Police.
Yeah, it better be, all right? And I'm going to tell you, they're going to look over the whole case, and they're going to read through it and be like, oh, it's Florida. Just check there's like 50 different reasons why this is possible, and then at the very bottom, it's just a checkbox with it's Florida, and they're just going to be like, oh, yeah, it's Florida. Shit like this happens all the time. Not a big deal. This is mild on the list of crazy shit that comes out of Florida on a regular basis. The moral of the story is Florida is lit, parenting is illegal, and if you're a wrinkly, bald politician with a malfunctioning brain, 9-year-old black girls are very scary. What a weirdo, huh? I mean, what's next? Shut the fuck up! Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, doing so will make my sweatpants tight, and make sure you hip thrust that motherfucking like button before you go. See you in the next video. Peace.